So today we're looking at the first move in the golf swing, the takeaway. And as most of us are visual learners, I'm going to share with you a great visual way of getting your takeaway on point or in the correct positioning, or starting that golf swing in the correct manner to allow the rest of the golf swing to naturally flourish to give you optimum results for your golf. If you're new to the channel, please check out the rest of my videos and also subscribe if you can. Love to have you on board, love to help you with your golf. Keep watching to see this great visual drill. So, not an expensive way of doing this. All I've got is a tennis ball, which I've cut in half, and I basically stuck it onto a shaft. You can position it along the shaft in various different places. I like it around about here. And what we're going to use this for is to see the direction in which we start our golf swing, and also how we start to lever the golf swing correctly, or indeed cock or set our wrists in a radial fashion to get the club in the right position. So we're going to work quite hard on the relationship between the ball and our hands. Now, in the takeaway, we want basically our hand path and shaft to have a relationship. Quite often when people do this incorrectly, the relationship is wrong. We also want to encourage that we get some what we call wrist set or cock. Some people call this hinging, but we tend to see hinging as being this way. So the wrist working like we would see on the door if we worked on hinges works more in a horizontal fashion rather than the vertical fashion. When we're talking about the vertical fashion, this is what I call radial deviation or wrist cock, thumb up, whatever you want to call it. What we're going to try and do in terms of the tennis ball is feel that this tennis ball gets above our hands and in line with our hands. As simple as that. Now for the guys that tend to roll the club inside, you'll see here that the ball will be behind my hands. So these guys might want to over-exaggerate how much they feel the tennis ball is in front of the hands. But we certainly want to feel, again, I've got an arrow on this tennis ball, which you can see here. We want to feel, obviously there's very little rotation in that tennis ball, because if there's rotation, the club will roll itself inside also. So what we're looking for is very little rotation, the tennis ball to work above my hands, and then if I get my left arm kind of parallel to the ground, the tennis ball will probably be about level with my head. Okay, so we're looking for this kind of L shape, and the wrist angle is staying as it was at the dress. So I've got a slight bit of cupping in my wrist. That slight bit of cupping is going to maintain itself through the takeaway, and if you see I do that, this ball pretty much stays in line with the hands or just slightly outside the hands in this position. Then if I add radial, you see it starts to work upwards. And again, point of rule, the more radial I add, the harder it is for the club to go behind me or work too deep. As a rule, I never like to see this club head go behind the backside line. If it does that, it's way too much inside. What we see with most elite players is they start the swing well. And there's many components to that. This is one visual way of starting the swing well with the club, and also that affecting your forearms and your wrists. Obviously, we can talk about the body as well, but I would like to think we would start the swing with our arms and our wrists, generating movement to the club, then letting our arms pull or drag our body into a rotational sense away from the golf ball. Obviously, we are going to side bend as well a little bit, but let's not really get into that today. Let's talk more about just really what the club's doing. So for me, this is a great visual, and you could tape this to the club, and if you tape it to the club, it would stay on there if you'd hit numerous shots with. I haven't got this taped on today, so it will come off when I hit a shot. The key is really just trying to feel, using the visuals and using what I call a practice swing or rehearsal or a big waggle, to encourage us to feel the right moves, and then taking that on board in the real swing. If you guys can remember someone like Mike Weir, so Mike Weir always had a very deliberate kind of rehearsal or waggle to start his golf swing, and you see quite a number of the PGA Tour players will do a similar kind of thing. They're trying to tell the brain what they want to do and try and let it naturally happen afterwards. And if we start the swing correctly, as I said, nearly always is the first point of breakdown with lots of golfers. When the swing goes off point, generally round the body, there's a lifting of the arms and then a kind of a steepening of the shaft in transition. Some golfers will obviously pick it up And some then will stay there in that position and cut across the ball. Some who pick it up will actually shallow it quite well. And there are examples of that on tour and with other great players. There are always outliners to everything we talk about. There's a few people who take the club back inside, get to the top into a beautiful position and start down beautifully. They are extremely talented, and all we can do is pat them on the back, and you have to be very careful if you change their takeaway. Trust me. But for most golfers, getting things a little bit more what I would call orthodox, certainly from how we stand and how we start the golf swing, is going to allow your swing to start to maneuver in the way we want. So let's have a go at a shot, and again I'm going to rehearse and I'm going to really focus on the relationship between the tennis ball and the hands. And again, before I do, I'll just show you an example of a poor one. So if the hand path goes out, the tennis ball goes in. That's what we generally see. I'm looking for the hand path to stay on its arc and the tennis ball to work up, or if anything, feel like it's outside the hands and above the hands. So we feel this kind of move. So I've rehearsed that a few times now. Let's go ahead and pull the trigger. So really pleased with the shot. Obviously I lost the tennis ball. I'll have to watch the video back to see how good I feel I did a job with that specific takeaway move. When you look at a swing on video, also please bear in mind the camera angle. So if I've got this camera angle set up not quite right from a technical expert, it will give me a different view to how my swing plane looks. Ideally, the camera would want to be a little bit more towards my feet line and a little lower to really give me the visuals that I'd normally see from a teaching point of view. From a YouTube point of view, I want you to see everything I'm talking about as best I can. So the camera angle is probably slightly different. Have a go at this, but really start to think about how obviously we can start to load these wrists so they have the power stored in them to be able to come down to the golf ball and unleash that power, as it were. And also starting the direction of our swing as we want it to be. So therefore, there's no compensations and you finding a way of making it work through impact that has detrimental effect on the ball flight and the ball striking. So if you've enjoyed today's video, please click like and share the video. Also, if you haven't already followed or subscribed, please hit my logo down below and start becoming a member of my channel. It's all for free and all the videos are designed to help lower your scores and improve your golf. Love to have you aboard. Also post comments and questions down below, and requests for videos are very useful indeed. Thank you for joining me today at the Forest of Arden. Hope to see you back here real soon.